Sport is next to Tim Webster, and there's a forward that's hoping to do an Andrew Johns Origin-style comeback.
This is pretty remarkable. Despite a long layoff, Bulldog Marco Mealy is aiming for just that. His amazing recovery shortly. Also, more plaudits for Joey Johns, how his peers rated the comeback. Andrew Johns is having a precautionary check on a neck injury from last night, but still believes he'll play against Manly on Sunday. And Johns has New South Wales on course to create Origin history. They're aiming to become just the second Blues side in 25 years to win the series from 1-0 down.
Despite a commanding role in all 5 of the Blues tries, Andrew Johns was quick to sidestep talk today. He'd played the game of his Origin career.
I think everyone out there last night done their job the best they could. And when that happens, the halfback takes the cream off the top. But I want to emphasise how great a team effort it was.
82,000 fans, his teammates and coach disagreed. Johns' rush return to Rugby League's biggest stage is poised to enter Origin folklore.
We all talk about champions who come back and play Origin football, and there's been a couple of recent champions come back in Brad Fittler and Alan Langer, and they lived up to the tag. So realistically, he probably had a bit of pressure on him.
He's a freak. The script was written for him and he responded like a champion does. And any lesser player would have come in and not been able to do the job and feel the pressure, but he just stepped straight in and it looks like he's never left.
Up 12-8, a disallowed try to the Maroons early in the second half could have changed the course of the match. Instead, a critical Johns 40-20 kick shifted the momentum back with the Blues. Queensland and Newcastle coach Michael Hagan admitting Johns is in a class of his own.
He certainly played very well for them, and he came up with a couple of big plays. I think a 40-20 springs to mind, and he probably had a hand in quite a bit of what they did. Thought we didn't probably get a whole heap of luck in the game either.
Both states could be without key players for the decider. Maroons prop Carl Webb is battling a hip problem. Blues captain Danny Buderus a foot injury. And New South Wales winger Luke Rooney is set to miss a week for Penrith with a groin strain. Ty Neve, 10 News.
It's often said in rugby league circles that no man is bigger than his team. But last night, Andrew Johns went a long way to proving that wrong. He played the game of his life in the Blues' superb 10-point win over Queensland to square the Origin series.
As modest this morning as he was magical last night, the adulation Johns has received doesn't sit comfortably.
I want to emphasise how much it was a great team effort. I know the next couple of days is sort of going to be a lot of praise on myself.
His performance deserves nothing less, but it all started with a moment to forget.
After a kick, I thought, what are you doing? It was an awful kick.
It wasn't long before things started to click. Some call this genius. Johns says it's just good luck.
Hitting the upright and a try!
Yeah, I was aiming at it all the time. No, mate, it's just one of those things that was just a fluke.
With the Blues trailing at the break, Johns urged for a greater effort, backing up his own words with deeds few others could muster. Every try had his imprint.
Great vision there from Andrew Johns.
His boot providing the finishing touches.
Johns, the legend, is kicking magnificently.
He's got the same bearing on Origin football that Wally Lewis had.
Fittingly, a pass to Newcastle teammate and Blues skipper Danny Buderus put the result beyond doubt.
The Newcastle captain to the New South Wales captain.
Probably the best hooker of all time, and really enjoyed playing with him, and it was great for both of us to have a first win of the year.
A win masterminded by a man who'd played just 6 games in 18 months. Even he concedes it's one of his best.
It was a great feeling to be back. I didn't think I'd get another shot to play State of Origin, and it's the pinnacle of rugby league.
He's a class player and certainly belongs on that stage.
And this game last night will mean nothing unless we win the series, and we'll be ready.
Chris Hodgkinson, National 9 News.
Andrew Johns could be New South Wales captain for State of Origin 3 with Newcastle clubmate Danny Buderus expected to miss at least 2 weeks. The Blues hooker has ligament damage in his right foot, a similar injury to the one he played with last year.
I learned from last year, put it that way, and I'm not going to be able to play if it's going to be like that. I'm not going to play with needles. It just makes it an ongoing problem.
But first to Sydney, and a dominant performance by Andrew Johns has seen New South Wales level the Origin series with a resounding win over Queensland. The Blues halfback was brilliant in the team's 32-22 victory in front of 82,000 fans, Dean Ritchie.
Yeah, it was a truly memorable and stunning performance from Andrew Johns last night. Case to actually see what he did, given what preparation he had, the injuries, the expectation. It was just a performance. In my opinion, he was an all-time great going into the game. He's now gone another plane up. He's now an Immortal. I don't see why he shouldn't be elevated into the Immortal class while he's still playing.
Well, Ricky Stewart last night compared him to Wally Lewis, didn't he? So he really has just entered folklore as far as that Origin standard's concerned.
Yeah, I wouldn't go putting him on as an Immortal right now, but I think that he deserved last night's game. There's a lot of pressure on him when going into it.
How much more's he got to do to become an Immortal?
Well, he's
won 2 grand finals.
Well, Immortal, I understand all
every Origin opportunity that he's been handed.
You don't give it to him while he's still playing. His performance last...
If he's good enough, why does it matter if he's retired?
Because the fact is you need to be an enduring reputation, you know.
Well, he's been going for 10 years now.
A lot of credit has to go to the Newcastle blokes, full stop last night. Danny Buderus, Steve Kennedy, they were sensational.
Steve Simpson, yeah. Mate, he was sensational early, wasn't he, Simpson? Like, he just ripped and teared early in those opening 15 minutes, replacing Bailey. I thought he had a terrific impact.
Yeah. Look, the New South Wales team, the most impressive thing for me was they improved a lot from game 1, and I think there's a lot of improvement still for game 3.
Look, I thought at half-time we were teetering. The first hit up in the second half, into touch, but Joey's 40-20 changed the whole game.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Well, the Knights will celebrate their first win of the season when they meet the out-of-form Sea Eagles on Sunday. True or false, James Hooper?
Yeah, look, Joey Johns certainly performed some miracles last night, but I don't think he will be able to get Newcastle over the line for their first win of the season against the Seagulls. Look, I don't think the Seagulls are battling that much. They might have been pummeled by the Rabbitohs, but the week before they beat the Roosters, so I think that Manly will just have a little too much there at Brookvale.
Right, now it's time for the great debate with Mike Gibson and Ray Chesterton. The topic this week, an unforgettable performance from Andrew Johns last night, prompting rugby league fans to ask, is he the greatest Origin player of them all?
Up until last night, I never thought I'd live to see a better State of Origin player than Wally Lewis. But bearing in mind he was coming back from injury, what Joey Johns did at Telstra Stadium was simply unbelievable. Now, Wally was a good player. In State of Origin, he became great. But Joey Johns, he's a great player to begin with, and in State of Origin, he becomes even greater. Last night was the greatest Origin performance of them all.
I won't argue that last night Andrew Johns was absolutely magnificent. I don't expect to ever see a better performance than that. But is he the best of all time? Does he match Wally Lewis? No, I don't think so. He's the best New South Wales player by a mile, but he's not the best ever. That title does still belong to King Wally. Now, King Wally didn't have as many skills as Andrew Johns, but he somehow moulded them all into some sort of package that just dominated Origin for more than a decade. Andrew might get there. In years to come, he might rise even more to the occasion, but time's against him, and I think we'll still think King Wally's the best when this is all over.
You're right. I mean, they have so much in common. To me, the great factor is that they're both great competitors. But as you say, Joey just has so many more skills. He's the greatest kicker of the ball. He's the greatest passer of the ball. He's a terrific tackler. He sets up play. He inspires his teammates. And last night, lo and behold, he bangs over 3 from the sideline. What more do you want?
Why has someone who's seen so much history suddenly forgotten Wally?
Two minutes remaining, and Parramatta lead by 44. Can they get to the 50?
Welcome back to Main Game, and we'll be testing our experts with that match a little late. Time now to have another look at that NRL vision and ask what happened next. Now, this match between the Eels and Newcastle was just last weekend. Parramatta gave the Knights a 50-0 hiding, but the game was memorable for another reason, Dean Ritchie.
Yeah, it sure was, Case. Quite an unfortunate incident. Some complete buffoon/idiot has run on the field full of drink with his can in his hand and a cast on his leg. There he goes. Look at him. He's been escorted. He's already over. He didn't spill a drop, mind you. He has gone off the field and said to the security guard, "I did it because some of us had to make a tackle," referring to the Knights. But I did speak to Parramatta during the week. And although we do laugh about it, they were quite concerned. They said, look, this bloke could have had a knife, he could have had anything, so they were a bit concerned.
Incredible that it can get to that stage, isn't it?
Well, where's the security guards?
Like, how the hell can one bloke manage to get on the field and perform that sort of thing?
I mean, let's just hope he doesn't go to any more games ever again.
Thanks for joining us wherever you're watching around Australia. Magnificent game last night. A great victory for the Blues, of course. We now go to Suncorp Stadium in 3 weeks' time for the decider, and it's always good in a State of Origin series to have a decider. As you welcome, a special welcome to Andrew Ettingshausen. Welcome, Andrew. A veteran of 27 Origin games, and you were part of the New South Wales parade last night. How did you feel out in the field before the match in front of all those people?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, Fatty. I guess you were involved in the first State of Origin. It's just a great feeling to walk out there and 80-odd thousand people there. So many of the Blues supporters, so excited about the big night ahead and hoping for a Blues victory. And it was, it was really good. I think they've done a great job, the league, this year, bringing all the old players back in and getting them involved. 25 years.
It's been a great celebration of 25 years. But just on last night's game, boys, Andrew Johns, the man of the moment. A magnificent display, Joey. It was outstanding. He was involved in all 5 New South Wales tries. And I've got to say, without him, New South Wales wouldn't have won. And they're already on Talkback Radio comparing him, of course, to the great Wally Lewis.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you talk about, there's the scoreline 32-22, a lot of great performers. Look, on Andrew being compared to Wally Lewis, look, last night wasn't a one-off. Andrew started, I think he started being a dominant figure in State of Origin back as far as 1996. Injuries have prevented him. However, in 2003, he came out and he said, I'm going to dominate this series. It's my time, just like Wally Lewis did. I thought he did it then. But for last night, 2 years out of the game, broken jaw, knee reconstruction, and play one of the greatest games seen in Origin, I think it puts him in the same stratosphere as the Wally Lewises.
Well, let's talk about that. Now, is it fair to have one king, or is there 2 kings? The New South Wales have their own king, the Queens have their own king.
Why do we make these comparisons? Like, it's almost like you're casting aspersions on one of the players by saying Wally Lewis was an absolute champion in his era and was a fantastic Origin player. And Andrew Johns needs to be looked upon and say, don't compare them. Like, just sit back and revel in what we've got now.
Exactly, the way
he's
we enjoyed Wally was the 31 matches, 8 man of the matches.
I don't.
And Andrew's certainly up there with one of the best in New South Wales. But I've got to say this. How are the New South Wales selectors feeling? A little bit sheepish last night or today because they left him out. They picked Trent Barrett. They didn't have faith in him, didn't think he was good enough to play in that game. But he came on because of injury and was the man of the match.
Well, I guess, justified in the end. But, it should be pointed out that Trent Barrett was to be the halfback last night and was only denied that through injury. I think Joey will probably be there for game 3 now, I would imagine.
But Joey's the type of guy, he rebels in this stuff. The fact he had no preparation, as Matty said, the knee, the jaw, he answered all that and he'll do it again. To finish this fairy tale properly, in game 3, the expectation on him is to do it again. They're not saying that he can't do it, they're saying that he's going to do it again. That's still a real challenge for him. He does that, in my mind, there is no one close to him that's played for New South Wales.
E.T., what I don't want to happen, he was outstanding last night, Andrew Johns, and he was a deserved man of the match. I don't want that to overshadow some of the other players' performances because the Blues, as 17 players, were quite superb. Matt King, it's as good a game as you'll see from that. But there were so many others as well.
Yes, well, Matty King's had a great game. And the outside backs, I mean, we haven't seen them get that much ball in a number of years. The ball was shifted wide. I thought they went in with a great game plan. I thought Ricky Stewart came to the table with a terrific game plan, spreading that ball wide, that big Queensland pack, having to shift them around. And the result, I suppose it spoke for itself. They had to do so many tackles. The centres were in like the 30s in their tackles, which is amazing. 40 tackles.
And I think one of the players needs to be rapidly overshadowed a little bit was Steve Menzies to be a back rower. And he's played a bit of centre, but never at that level, and be thrown onto the right centre position. I thought he was absolutely outstanding.
If anyone can do it, though, it's him. He's an amazing athlete.
Actually, I thought the 3 players under the most pressure last night were Riles, Bailey and Simpson, and they all lined up. They all played outstanding games, the 3 props. The start of the Steve Simpson, he set the platform. Luke Bailey took on after him, and Riles' second stint in the second half was outstanding. It was a great game, of course, a couple of weeks away from the decider. One of the highlights for me last night, speaking of Matt King, who was probably runner-up in the Man of the Match award, was a chase situation. It was probably early in the game. It was only 10, 12 minutes into the match. And this happened. Mick Crocker made the bust. And then Billy Slater got away. Now Matt King chases and then has to chase past Billy Slater and get the kick because Sean Berrigan was there. He was going to score a try, Sean Berrigan. It was an outstanding effort by Matt King, and he carried that right through the whole game.
Hey, Freddie, just before we go.
We've actually got a story on Matt King later on the show tonight.
Yeah, we do, yeah. me and Matty were on the sideline, we watched that. He was absolutely exhausted. It's called lactic acid. He must have had about 25,000 mils in his legs because he was tired. But at that type of effort on the top of the game, it sets the way.
Absolutely. It's difficult to pick out, I guess, turning points, but I think there was one pivotal moment last night, was the 40-20 kick from Andrew Johns. They were under pressure, they were down on the scoreboard, and these are the kind of games, or kind of plays in games that really changed the course of them. Not long after they scored, we see Andrew Johns putting up another high kick a little bit later on, and all of a sudden, that first 15 minutes, the game is over. And
I tell you what, his reaction after this, Pete, typified his performance. I've never seen him so stilly focused. Usually when he does the 40-20, he pumps a fist and he revs the boys up, and it's almost like a release of focus for him. He was like a stone last night. He didn't celebrate until he iced the game when he gave it to Buderus. Buderus put the ball down and he pumped the fist then. The whole game he was just... He was just in the zone.
It was a great night. More on Origin pretty soon in the show. Steve Menzies coming on as our special guest as well. One of the combatants from last night, the Beaver.
Absolutely.
Chief.
Yeah, actually, just before we go to the next one, just a quick update. There's a few injuries in that game. I can tell you that Danny Buderus, I spoke to him late this afternoon, and he has torn a ligament in his foot. He's going to be in a one of those boot type of things for the next 2 weeks, and then the third week he's hoping to come back. So a bit of bad news. That's his first win this year too for Danny, so he enjoyed that one, but an injury.
Sunday. Beaver, after the game, Ricky Stewart said that when Joey came into camp, it lifted about 25%. Was that the case? Was it that significant?
Yeah, the first day into camp, he was, a lot of the plays he didn't know. He knew some of the plays, and we just did a couple up and back on the training paddock, running through the plays, and he jumped in there, and he was at home from the first minute. He was barking at the forwards which way to go. He was calling plays, and it was like he'd been there, since day one. He'd trained a couple of weeks with the team, so that shows the quality of the player. I think he showed what he can do on the field, but when you see him at training and coming into a situation like that and just taking full control, it was pretty awesome.
Well, you were one of just 34 stars last night. Andrew Voss and Paul Harrigan went down to the sheds to have a chat with some of the others. Is their report.
Buderus goes to Johns, off his right foot try. Buderus has scored!
Well, Joey, you now burnt yourself a mark in Origin forever now. That was an amazing comeback. How are you feeling going into it?
Mate, I was always confident. I knew I'd done the hard work and I knew I was ready. I suppose there were some doubters and some quarters, but I was really pumped to get in there. Great. It's footy's all about getting amongst the boys in camp, and I just knew I was ready. I couldn't wait for it, and it's turned out pretty well.
Michael, this is the bittersweet role of club coach and Origin coach. Watching Andrew Johns display his skills tonight, how did that feel?
Oh, I mean, it's not great when you're on the receiving end of it, but I mean, we knew that he had the capacity to play like that and played very well in the game. And I mean, he's done really well. He's worked very hard in the last 10 or 12 weeks, and you've got to be pretty happy for him, I think.
Just scared of him at the moment. You go out there, you don't know what he's going to do. He can come back inside, throw a face ball. You just got to stay with it. He's an enormous player. And watching from the bench, some of the stuff he does is just enormous. And that's why he's an Origin player, and he's why he's the best player in the world, I suppose. He can come up with them important things at important times that win games.
Here's Johns putting a kick in. Minicello's chasing. The ball is hitting the upright. It'll be a try.
Just a great kick by Joey. I was on the inside of him, and I think it was last tackle. I just called for it, and obviously put it in the right spot and hit the post, and the rest is history. So yeah, it was good.
I thought with Matt King, those first 10-15 minutes, he produced probably three things during the game that you really look back on and stands out. So he's playing tremendous. This is his first series, and it's a pleasure to be out there with him.
The write-ups going into the match, everyone talking about Carl Webb and the crowd's going to give it to him, but you seem to enjoy the reception you got.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't as bad as I expected at all. I did cop quite a reception, in the streets of Parramatta and all that sort of stuff. But it was pretty good. I've got a fair bit of encouragement down here as well, so yeah, it was good.
Hey, what about your career? It's just, you're breaking records, you're playing great football, you're back in Origin. Well, mate, what's next?
Retirement's next.
Mate, Joey's 40-20 in the second half, leading to that first try. That was a real turning point, a real great start that second half.
Yeah, if you make the next set of six a positive set, it is a real important set. If you can defend on it and then get out of there and get some field position as a defender, it can turn your way as well. It's really important. Once you get that 40-20, you get a bit of enthusiasm, you get a spark about yourself, there's a bit of electricity going through the boys because of it. If you can turn that into a good result, being putting the ball in for another set of 6 points, just a good result on the back end of your set of 6, you're alive. The boys are abuzz.
When you're surrounded by so many great players, you just seem to get in the groove. Training all week was like clockwork. It's just everyone was in the right spot. It's a pleasure to play with these blokes, and I suppose their hard work I get to shine on the end of it. But over the moon for the result. But as I pointed before, it's only the entree, mate. We've got the main meal to go.
Lovely camera work, a nice piece put together by the producers at Channel 9. You mentioned retirement in that little thing. What? Is he just fair dinkum or?
Politics. Look at that face. It's
No,
an
I got,
angelic face.
He's looking for a new contract.
No, sign for next year's and see how I pull up at the end of that.
It's hard to believe that between us, both Manly back rows, we scored 160 tries between us, believe it or not. He got 154, but, I chipped in with a couple there at the end.
Just on a personal basis, Beaver, last year we announced your engagement. Is there any plans for marriage?
Yeah, how's that going?
No, nothing simmering there on that front, so...
He got stung every time. Stung you last time, stung you again.
All right, of course, Joey John's the man of the moment. We had a man on ground today in Newcastle. The first question we asked him was how important his family is.
Yeah, very important to me. They keep me stable and they keep me focused. I had all the family there last night. Even saw the old man on the big screen giving an interview at one stage, but see how much it means to them. My brother all week, I've never seen him so nervous, and after the game he was riding the emotions, so it's great to see they get a kick out of it.
Newcastle number 7 to the Newcastle number 9. Look at him bouncing around, Andrew Johns. Worried about his fitness. He looks like a 12-year-old out there.
I think fear of failure, all players talk about that. You don't want to stuff up on the biggest arena, but we knew what we had to do, and it was just so much confidence, so I don't think anyone was experiencing that fear of failure last night. I think I've still got a long way to go till I do what Wally's done. I haven't really thought about the game too much. My main focus is on the next one. It'll mean nothing to me or the side unless we win the series. It'd be nice to get a win in the red and blue. It was the first win of the season last night, but we're up against it, but we've still got to hang in there. Still think we're a chance. I've got to see the doctor tonight. I've hurt my neck a little bit, so I'll cross my fingers I'll be all right. I think I'll play, but we've got to hang in, and a win's just around the corner, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully for the Knights. Now, he's got the neck injury. He's spoken today. Do you think he'll play against Manly on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Playing against Manly, look, I think the competitiveness of the bloke, I think he'll play. Yep. To be honest, as a Newcastle supporter, I'd like him to play. For himself personally, unless he's 100% fit, I'd rather him sit out.
Rest,
yeah.
Right.
Matty, he said how important his family is, but he didn't seem to have much of a rap on you. He just sort of mentioned him passing.
He mentioned a brother. I think that's another brother.
That was a former marriage or something.
All right, please thank Steve Menzies for us, the great one.
Well, in State of Origin number 1, the Queensland fans were cheering in game number 2 down here at Telstra Stadium, Sydney. It was the Blues fans to celebrate at a tremendous victory. A lot of factors went into that New South Wales win tonight, but I think there's 2 very nice stories. The young bloke and the old bloke. The young bloke, a fella from Casino on the northern rivers of New South Wales, Matt King. What a dream. In the first half, when Billy Slater broke into the backfield, Billy Slater is in fact a teammate of Matt King. At training, Matt King says that Billy Slater outruns him easily. But this is Origin time. He had to do it for his Blues teammates. He chased back, he made Billy Slater kick the ball, and then able to turn and chase and defuse a dangerous situation that had the crowd on its feet and really lifted his teammates. There were other aspects of his play. Some of his strong running was outstanding. He came in to relieve his forwards and really took on the Queensland pack and bent them back with his size and his big, tall features and long legs. At other times in defence, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. 2 tackles stick in my mind. One on his own line where he sprinted up and in and smashed Billy Slater, who was coming around the back and looking dangerous. And then again down on the Queensland line, as Queensland were trying to mount a comeback from deep inside their own territory, he was up there in their face again and cut the attacking player in 2. Now to the old bloke. You know who I'm talking about, Andrew Johns. What an outstanding return. In the first 5 minutes, his legs were like jelly. I don't know whether it was nerves or just the pace of the game, but he pushed through it, he kept persevering, and his long passing game brought everyone else into the game. He got his centres involved, he got his backs involved with inside passes, he had his forwards rumbling over the advantage line, and it was really his class in the second half that got New South Wales home. The long passing started to take its toll. It was time for Joey to run. A couple of dummies and he forced his way through the line. A couple of dummies, he forced his way through the line again. Queensland had to compress, and the moment they did, he stood wide, called for the ball from Braithen Astor, and put Cooper and Gasnier away down the left-hand side of the field to seal victory for the Blues. He's passed to Danny Buderus back on the inside for the Blues' final try will live long in my memory as one of the great Origin passes and a real mark of the class of this player. But Queensland fans, don't fret. As I've pointed out a number of times, you never gave up. Who scored the last try of the game? 16 points behind didn't worry them. They kept trying right to the 80th minute. Petro Sivanasiva crashed over with 11 seconds left to play, just to remind the Blues that they will keep coming after them. Put that third Origin date down in your diary. It's going to be an absolute cracker. I can't wait to get there, and neither can the Blues players.
Look, there's some issues in league we're just going to discuss presently. Of course, what happened on Saturday night at Energy Australia Stadium. Of course, Parramatta playing Newcastle and this Jim Bobbering out in the ground. And, of course, it could have got ugly. But how have you handled this? You were at the match.
Look, this guy came out. It was on the front page of the Herald there in Newcastle.
Yeah.
It was big news. But, look, this guy, he had a brain snap. He had a couple of drinks. He's a local guy in Newcastle there. On the 79th minute, he had the can in the hand. He thought he could lend the boys a hand. And, it took a while for him to get escorted off. Look, there, he's a big fella. He done an ankle too. He slipped over here. Pretty slippery grass. Boom, gone.
He had 1,000 beers.
He had 1,000 beers.
And the Parramatta players overheard him saying, well, someone had to make a tackle. Newcastle can't tackle. That's what he was all about. Obviously a very passionate fan, but you can't. Security's got to be beefed up. You can't have that happening.
No, I suppose at the end of the day, we're kind of got a bit of a laugh to it, but it can be quite serious, and there has been other, I suppose, the word idiots in sport that have caused a few problems.
Mate, I'd ban him for life.
Are you serious?
Absolutely, absolutely. If Matthew Head the next day, you saw him do a cruise ship. If he tackles one of those players and ends his career, like we're not laughing as much. He's got a can in his hand. He only got to carry something else. And I think you make a message. You say, if you come out here, you're not coming to any more NRL games. I feel that strongly about it. And we have had.
What about this lunatic? Remember
this was the Irish priest that came out. That's
the Olympic marathon.
Imagine doing a marathon and getting pushed.
Of course, that was South African when the bloke was going for a kick at goal. He ran out and tried to tackle him when he was kicking for goal.
Like a lot of these incidents look very funny, but if you put yourself in the position of the player, not expecting to be hit. There's a referee getting cleaned up by
this one
of the...
That's Peter Van Zyl.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong,
that's
wrong. That's just sheer aggression.
But how different is it to what other stuff we saw? And, of course, the worst one...
It's all fun and games, Pete, but honestly, I know what you're saying. At the end of the day, look at this bloke. He's a lunatic, but it can go the other way. It can go to this extreme where we see here right now.
1993... a fan of Steffi Graf stabs Monica Seles on the sideline. She was never the same player again.
Look at him, that's psychotic.
It's dangerous stuff.
I know that, people. In putting into perspective, there was no drama. Nothing happened. He ran out. He was blind as. I mean, I'd give him another chance.
No excuse, and it could have been drama.
Well, I'd give him another chance.
You're a tough guy, Pete.
All right, but that's Pete. That's me. That's Chief. There you go. Actually, is the club going to take any action? Will they take any action?
I'm sure there will be. And as I said, in Newcastle, we love our rugby league, and it was all over the place on the news, so we'll sort something out.
Also, will it be another injury setback for Andrew Johns just as the Knights get a financial saviour? Good news, bad news for the winless and financially struggling Newcastle Knights. Just as they finally secured a major sponsor, Andrew Johns is once again in doubt, this time with a neck injury after the game of his life in Origin 2.
Newcastle's big guns are on hand for the sponsorship launch. But John's neck injury has prompted fears of a recurrence of 2003, when a bulging disc almost ended his career.
Our club doctor seems to think it's not the same injury as before. I'm getting no numbness or pain down the arm, which is a good sign, but still really tender and really sore.
His specialist will assess scans in the morning to determine if he plays against Manly on Sunday.
I wouldn't risk it anyway with the neck. It's a pretty delicate area, and especially with the history of I had a serious injury there before, so if there's any doubt, I doubt if I won't play, but I'll still give myself a chance.
Also causing concern is club and State of Origin teammate Danny Buderus. He too has an old injury, torn toe ligaments. The hooker sees his specialist on Wednesday week, the day the Origin team goes into camp for the decider.
Yeah, I'm a chance, definitely a chance. I'll hopefully get the the cam boot off in 2 weeks and Staley start to get it moving, so I'm definitely a chance.
The Knights sponsorship deal is believed to be worth $700,000 plus a season. It's not enough to get the club out of its financial woes just yet, but they are hoping it will start a snowballing effect with other sponsors. Despite the Knights' problems, the NRL remains confident of Newcastle's long-term future.
I think this club still sets a benchmark as a community club. They're critical to this community. They're critical to our competition, and I'm confident that they'll have a long-term place in the competition.
At this stage, the Knights haven't asked the NRL for financial help. Tony Peters, 10 News.
Brendan with sport next, and relief for the cash-strapped Newcastle Knights.
Oh, indeed, Mark, because now they've finally got a major sponsor. But injuries continue to cripple the club. After talk of bankruptcy and fears players may go unpaid, at last some financial relief for the Newcastle Knights. The NRL battlers secured a major sponsor today until the end of 2006.
Cash-strapped and anchored to the bottom of the ladder, today's announcement fixes some of the problems.
There's been some speculation about the financial position the club's in, so I mean that'll hopefully put the minds of the players at ease.
Mining company Coal and Allied is digging the Knights out of their financial hole with what's described as the biggest sponsorship in the club's history. But on the field, the outlook remains bleak. Hooker Danny Buderus will miss at least 2 matches with a foot injury. Now Andrew Johns is in serious doubt for Sunday's game against Manly.
I wouldn't risk it anyway with the neck. It's a pretty delicate area, and especially with the history of had a serious injury there before.
Johns will see a doctor tomorrow before deciding his immediate future. Chris Hodgkinson, National 9 News.
Tomorrow, Brent Tate has been ruled out for the Broncos' clash with the Tigers. It's the Eels and the Warriors in New Zealand, and the Storm and the Panthers in Melbourne. On Sunday, the Rabbitohs and the Dragons meet at the SCG, the Bulldogs host the Raiders, and the Eagles take on the Knights. Newcastle haven't had a win this season, but today they had a victory off the field, securing a major sponsor until the end of 2006.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling going out and playing and not having, I suppose, a name across the front of your jersey. I think the players will take some confidence out of this, definitely.
Nick Marshall, McCormack, 7 News.
Newcastle captain Andrew Johns will not play in tomorrow's round 15 match against Manly at Brookvale Oval. The 31-year-old halfback injured his neck during Wednesday's Origin 2 victory. He'll see a specialist in Sydney tomorrow.
And Andrew McKinlay with sport is next, and the Newcastle Knights are paying the price for Andrew Johns' brilliance, huh?
Yeah, Mike. Injury means Johns will miss tomorrow's clash with Manly. The details next. A neck injury will keep Andrew Johns out of tomorrow's clash against Manly. The Knights captain booked in to see a Sydney specialist.
Time for sport with Nick McArdle, and Andrew Johns is in trouble.
Could be, yeah. His neck injury, perhaps more serious than first thought. The latest on that next. Andrew Johns is in doubt for State of Origin 3 with a neck injury. He's been ruled out of the Knights clash with Manly tomorrow. Johns missed a training session in Newcastle this morning and will see a specialist in Sydney tomorrow. He picked up the injury during Wednesday night's man of the match performance in Origin 2, and the Knights now look even more unlikely to get their first win of the year.
Origin is all square and the Joey Johns genius was there for all to see. So what about Game 3? Blues captain Danny Buderus is our lead guest this morning.
And later in the show, we'll talk with Knights and New South Wales captain Danny Buderus, who is battling to be fit for the third and deciding Origin match.
But right after this, New South Wales captain Danny Buderus live in the studio to talk rugby league.
Yeah, I sort of don't want it to be about me individually. It's more about team performance. And I think everyone out there done their job the best they could.
He breaks the line. Johns has gone to the 20. Johns has kicked 3 from 3. Johns is dominating. Here's Johns putting a kick in. The ball is hitting the upright. It'll be a try. It's a try for the Blue. Here's Smith with a little kick. Oh, the bounce was horrible. Again, he's proved a bit of a saviour. There's the kick from Lockout on the final tackle. Queensland try. And Minicello knocks on. Here's Billy Slater. It is a foot race in Origin 2. And Queensland again. Left foot, right foot. Menzies will score. Menzies. And Johns, he rifles the ball away. And it's gone from Cooper and gone to Gallop.
The series is all square after the Blues hit back on Wednesday night in Sydney with Andrew Johns leading the way. It was a 10-point win to New South Wales, 32-22. On Friday night, round 15 of the NRL got underway with the Sharks holding off the Roosters 16-10.
Now, yesterday, the Broncos scored a 40-22 win over the West Tigers. Parramatta's gamble to play their home game in Waikato really paid off. They beat the Warriors over there 28-18, and a vital win for the Penrith Panthers against Melbourne last night. 28-14 to Penrith, but of course everybody is still talking about last Wednesday night in State of Origin 2 with the Blues levelling the series. And it's great to have New South Wales captain, albeit injured New South Wales captain, Danny Buderus on board this morning. Mate, it was hyped to the max, that game, but it lived up to it, didn't it?
Yeah, the fairy tale was there with Andrew coming back, and the series is alive now. We take to the third one up in Brisbane, so it's going to be, hopefully we can keep the same side with no injuries and go up there and do a job.
You just mentioned the word there, fairy tale, and it was mentioned a lot in the lead up with Joey Johns returning. You know him probably better than most people. Did you ever doubt him at all in that week leading up once he got the call in?
No, not at all. The first training session, everyone was surprised to see how well he did fit in, but it was never going to be a problem. Sticky just wanted him in there as soon as possible, sort of thing. And then, Joey's the only one that knows how hard he's been training, and he's really missed the big stage, and he was out there on Wednesday night showing what he can do.
He actually looked exhausted at times. There were a couple of times where he's, sucking in some big breaths there. What I want to know, this kick here, where Minichello scooped it up to score a try. Now, a lot of debates after this is like, is that fluke, or is that something that he actually would practice, knowing how accurate he can be?
No, he practices that, and he probably didn't want to hit the post, but it's definitely going to aim in that vicinity, and he got the lucky result, and good on Mini. Mini was right up there and got the points.
Now, what about his neck injury? They're saying that he's had another couple of scans on it. Obviously, any concern after the injury that he's had in the past, they'd take a lot of precaution there. Yeah,
it's a problem. It's definitely a problem. So he's got a great specialist there, and Dr. Yo, and that's who we've seen about it before, and I'm pretty sure that he can get the right treatment, and he should be right for the third one.
I know that, everybody has really talked up Joey's performance in that match, and deservedly so. When we talk about that injury, it happened early on in the match as well. So that
first run on the ball.
That adds another chapter to this incredible game that he's had. Did you notice anything throughout the match at all where he was carrying it?
No, well, I think with the neck, I think it's just spasmed up after, at least 24 hours after the game. So I think that's when it's really started to come on. That's what I can get anyway. So it was a phenomenal effort, and his knees held up strong, and he looks quicker and stronger, which is great.
Now, Joey made the point afterwards of saying, look, don't just focus on me. You've got to focus on the other guys that had some great games as well. Matt King, for one. Who else impressed you along the line?
Well, we had a thing during the week. We looked at the first game. We wanted to work on things that we could improve, and I thought we did that in the second game, and that was our big boys. Simpson, Rolls and Bailey, I thought they were tremendous and got us going forward well.
The Newcastle connection was pretty good. I mean, Ben Kennedy obviously played a lot of time up there at Newcastle, and you mentioned Steve Simpson as well. First 15 minutes, was he sent out on a mission to just go absolutely berserk and expend every bit of energy he had?
He was shot out of a cannon, Simo, at some of those runs, but that was what Sticky wanted him to do, and he's gone out and done that. So he's one of those players that would be a pleasure to coach, Simo, and I think we can work on a few more things, and which is going to be great. And Matty King, I've always said that he's in his first game, I thought he was tremendous, and his second game is going to get better, so bring on the third one for him.
By all accounts, Ricky Stewart still gave you guys a fairly big rev up after Origin 2. What did he say?
Yeah, well, with the third one, you want to finish the second game going into the third one knowing that you're going to put your best foot forward, and we probably slackened off that last 5 minutes, which was pretty disappointing, but he told us to enjoy the win, but get ready for the third one, because that's the second one is going to mean nothing if we don't win the third one.
I think a lot of Queensland supporters would look at it as well, much the way that we did in the first Origin, where we sort of thought there was a bit of luck on both sides. And then this time around, if the bounce of the ball had been slightly different on a number of occasions, Queensland could have well and truly come away with a win. Yeah,
that's right. You make your own luck, and Queensland have always put themselves in the ballpark there. And but I think our scrambling defence, you put Kingy back there, he saved a couple, and Mini, so I'm very confident in the back three that we've got, and they always turn up.
It was a turnaround, wasn't it? Because on Sportsworld last week, we took a look at some of the plays from game one where Queensland continually turned you guys around with kicks, and it was all of a sudden you turning them around. Was that something picked at in between 1 and 2?
Yeah, definitely. It's because of possession. That in the first game we had none, and it spent a lot of petrol, so we couldn't put any pressure on Lockie and his kicks. So we would come out and force a few a bit of pressure on his kicks, and I think we did that pretty well.
Okay, so you've managed to shut down Darren Lockyer a little bit in game 2. Can you expect to do it 2 games out of 3 in a series against that bloke?
Yeah, they've got too many great players, Queensland. You got Matty Bowen and then Lockyer and Slater, and then the list goes on. So I think they'll come out, they'll work on things that they went wrong in the second game like we did in the first, and she's going to make for a cracker in the third one.
Well, it makes it interesting too, Danny, doesn't it? Because after game 1, you had some specific targets that you could look at and fix up. After game 2, I guess you've fixed up those targets. So what about game 3? What are you thinking about for 3?
Well, you go in the series with the unknown, don't you? You don't know what's... you know who you're playing, but you don't know what style they're going to play. So we've had 2 games to look at each other, the way we play, and so it makes for a third one where we're going to improve as well, and so are they.
We mentioned Andrew John's injury. What about your injury?
Yeah, I've hurt my foot. It's a problem that I had last year, and I had it operated on. It's the tendon in my toe sort of thing. So that's still intact, but I've had a couple of ligaments around that should heal pretty quickly. I've just in one of those boots for a couple of weeks.
And you're going to miss a couple of club games.
Yeah.
How realistic a chance are you for game 3 Origin?
Yeah, I'm hopeful, but I'll be in this boot for 2 weeks, and I'll miss those 2 games, which is pretty disappointing at club level. I think we've signed a major sponsor yesterday, which is great, Colin Illide, and it's up to us to put a few wins on the board for the team.
As Joey said to you, if you're not coming back and I'm playing in game 3, I get the captaincy back.
It's a difficult one, but
how did that go, by the way?
It's just the way it's worked out. If I was at club level and Andrew came back, I'd more than gladly handed the captaincy over to him. So,
rubbish you would.
But it's just it's the way it's worked out.
Let's talk about Newcastle for a second. You're playing Manly today. Everybody knows you haven't had a win this season, but it's been really tough, hasn't it? Both on and off the field. Now, finally, you've got yourself a major sponsor, which is great news, but the conditions up there aren't that great, so you've had to deal with a fair amount.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that for training.
Yeah, I know
the cargo containers.
Yeah, I know, and the players know that people in the right places are going to work on ensuring that the club is financially stable in the next few years, on and off the field. So it's something that we're going to restructure, and hopefully we're going to be right back up there in with a force to be reckoned with in the future years.
All right, well, your team is heading off to Brookvale Oval, of course, to take on Manly today. We wish you well in your recovery from your injury, and great stuff in game 2, mate. We look forward to game 3.
Thanks, guys.
Danny Buderus, great to have you on board this morning. Of course, there are 3 games left in round 15. Can the Knights get their first win of the season? Well, they'll have to beat Manly at Fortress Brookie to do it.
All righty. Let's move on to the halfback of the moment. Besides Tim Smith, it is Andrew Johns. All the press leading into Origin 2 was about Joey. All the press on the night and after has been about Andrew Johns. What a performance. But one of the stories has been, should he be now an immortal of rugby league while he's still playing? I actually have a problem with that. We have 7 immortals in the game at the moment, but I wouldn't like to see Andrew Johns put up to that status just yet. Matty, you can start because he's your brother and you've been a great supporter. Is he an immortal of the game?
Is he the best we've seen? Do you think he's the best we've seen? Yeah. I sometimes think with praise that does it have to be that an old great player has to walk out the middle of a stadium like that to get his plaudits? Should he, at the peak of his powers, be able to walk out and say thank you very much? Sometimes I've got no problems with him in the next 12 months being awarded if he deserves it. If we think he's the best we've seen, I can't see a reason why we can't award him that tag.
I think the problem with that, I've got no doubt that eventually Andrew will be an immortal of the game, but I think that part of the appeal of being an immortal is that you've got this ongoing legacy to the game, and 10 years after you retire, people look back and say, I remember Andrew Johns, how he played. I remember John. You know, you talk to people now and they still tell you John Raper could do this and John Raper could do that, or Reg Gasnier, and you know, you talk to old timers, they still insist that these blokes were better back then than they are now. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think that part of the appeal of being an immortal is that 15 years from now, 20 years from now, people are talking about Andrew Johns like that, and I think that we probably need to give it a bit of time before we go that way.
He's in good company with halfbacks. I mean, you got Sterling, Billy Smith, Keithy Holman even was a player back that my dad tells me about. Was a great. So, is he the best I've seen? Yes, best player I've seen. But I've never seen players of yesteryear who probably deserve to be there as well. So it's a touchy one.
Well, the first 4 were Gasnier, Raper, Fulton and Churchill. I mean, that's very lofty company, but they're made immortals long after they'd retired. Now, again, I just have a problem with it. I'm not saying that he won't be an immortal. I just don't quite grasp the idea of him putting him in that status while he's still playing.
I think when you look at our immortals and have a look at the great players we've got in our game, what highlights, we should have a Hall of Fame and make more of it. there's got to, but we don't make anything of it. It's like we've got to make really. I mean, there's players that aren't immortals and won't be immortals, but my God, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
Like Terry Lamb, what an example.
Yeah. Well, have your say on this topic. The Sunday Roast at 9.com.au. You can have your say on any topic that we discuss. Anything that crosses your mind, we'd like to hear from you. The Sunday Roast at 9.com.au.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Phelan. Welcome to Sports Tonight, jam-packed with sheer brilliance and the odd shock. And speaking of super, Andrew Johns. We'll tell you why things have just got better for League's greatest player.
Is it a good chance that he'll be back next week?
Yes, I believe so.
Now, due to broadcast restrictions, we are unable to bring you any action from today's other clash between Manly and Newcastle. What we can tell you is that Newcastle is still winless this season after the Eagles' 48-26 win. Well, Newcastle captain Andrew Johns has been cleared of serious damage to his neck after seeing a specialist in Sydney today. His doctor says he's optimistic that Joey will play in Origin 3.
This was Andrew Johns just moments from leaving the field following Origin 2. Another neck injury flaring up, and today he found out just how bad this latest complaint is. John spent an hour with Knights Dr Neil Halpin and neck specialist Dr John Yeo at a Sydney clinic. And while the 31-year-old halfback wouldn't comment, League's #1 player was relieved after being given a positive prognosis. We understand that Joey is in no danger of missing Origin 3, is that right?
We're very optimistic about that, and he's having some excellent treatment at the moment, which is going to overcome the present small problem, and we're looking forward to seeing him back on the field again.
Is it a good chance that he'll be back next week?
Yes, I believe so.
Johns will continue treatment. The X-rays and scans viewed today showing up nothing significantly wrong.
It is a muscular problem, basically, and we're looking forward to it continuing improving.
Good news for Andrew Johns. His neck injury is minor and he'll be back playing next weekend.
And at Brookvale, a relieved Andrew Johns was greeted by supporters. The Knights are still to win this year, but Johns will be back helping next week. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Andrew Johns has been cleared of a serious neck injury and will play in State of Origin 3. Johns could only watch today's game between the Knights and the Sea Eagles after his doctor told him not to risk it. But the Knights skipper has been told it's only a muscle strain and physiotherapy will have him ready to go for next Saturday's game against the Panthers.
You know, we're all pleased that he'll be back playing footy pretty soon, and we can certainly do with his help at the moment.
Absolutely.
A collective sigh of relief in New South Wales today with State of Origin linchpin Andrew Johns given the all-clear over concerns he may have a career-threatening neck injury. The Blues halfback met with his specialist who told him the injury is not a reoccurrence of an old neck problem and Johns should be right for the Origin decider.
It is a muscular problem, basically, and we're looking forward to it continuing improving.
Johns later watched his struggling Newcastle side lose to Manly, and he's expected to turn out for the Knights against Penrith next weekend.
You know, we're all pleased that he'll be back playing footy pretty soon, and we can certainly do with his help at the moment.
At Brookvale, an unlikely half-time score, winless Newcastle leading Manly 10 points to 8.
The Knights hit back!
And the effort across the board, I thought, for the first 40 minutes was very good.
It was all undone by a Manly try blitz straight after half-time, 5 4-pointers in the space of 18 minutes.
The home side is in.
Captain Michael Monaghan, winger Scott Donald and veteran centre Terry Hill all scored doubles as the Sea Eagles put last week's hiding from Souths behind them.
When you score 9 tries and winning games, you know you can come back and you can correct those things. The players know that they can correct those things.
It was Manly's 11th straight win at home, Newcastle's 13th straight loss.
So let's have a look at the NRL ladder, and Brisbane still lead the way from Parramatta and Manly. North Queensland had the bye this week. St George, they're up to 6th after their poor start to the season. No change at the bottom. Penrith stay in touch With that win yesterday in Melbourne, the Bulldogs move up a couple of spots and they're just a point out of the 8.
A boost tonight for the Roosters with Chris Flannery and Michael Crocker past fit to play in the crucial clash against Parramatta. Meantime, with New South Wales skipper Danny Buderus in severe doubt for the State of Origin decider, Blue selectors will be praying Andrew Johns gets through Newcastle's clash with Penrith tomorrow night. Johns is making his first appearance since injuring his neck in the Blues' stunning victory in Game 2.
Rugged up before his trip to the foot of the mountains, Andrew Johns preparing for yet another comeback, with the Knights desperate for their first win.
You know, I still feel tiniest little bit of discomfort when I wake up in the mornings, but it probably goes with the cold weather.
If he escapes unharmed, he'll be named as Blues skipper on Monday if Danny Buderus is ruled out.
I'd love Benzi to be there playing, and I think he'll be right. I'm sure he'll come through this foot injury, and he deserves to get there and lift the trophy if we win.
Well, it's been 294 days since Newcastle last sung its victory song. But thanks to a late try from forward Clint Newton, the Knights have finally broken through for their first win of the NRL season. The players celebrated like they'd won the grand final after a late try from Newton gave them a 4-point win over Penrith. In last night's other games, veteran Jason Smith once again the inspiration for Canberra. His late field goal giving the Raiders an upset win over the Cowboys. And try-scoring whiz Billy Slater grabbed a first-half hat-trick as Melbourne made light work of the Bunnies at Olympic Park. But we start at Penrith, where the Knights finally broke their duck.
Newcastle fans were praying for a change in fortune at the foot of the mountain, but early signs highlighted trouble with their defence.
Great pass Thaiday, away from Carmont.
Craig Gower inspired Penrith's charge to give Blues selectors a gentle nudge and assist Reece Wessler over the line, while Danny Gidley netted this simple try to notch up a double and send the Panthers to a 14-0 lead at the break.
And that will be the easiest try that Danny Gidley will ever score.
The Knights ran onto the field in the second half with a whole new attitude. Andrew Johns steered the ship from the middle as a number of players lined up to snare a piece of the action.
He is going to score a sensational Newcastle try.
By the 63rd minute, the Knights were on top 22-14, sparking an emotional journey home for the fans. But they were forced to strap themselves in for a nail-biting ride as the Panthers struck back to get within 4. In an attempt to stop Luke Priddis in his tracks, Luke Quigley aimed up too high. But Priddis recovered to play a key role in the Panthers' charge. 2 tries in the space of 5 minutes looked like the Panthers had it in the bag.
He got it down.
With less than 5 minutes on the clock, Clint Newton became the new Knights hero, sending his mates and team officials into a frenzy.
The Newcastle Knights have won their first game of season.
You can't understate the importance of that to our football team and our club and our fans, and I think a real special win for our year, given it's been so tough. And I think players have battled on for a number of weeks and have trained hard. And I thought on the back of a pretty good week this week, and Andrew was tremendous all week for our build-up, and I think did a great job in preparing for the game and played exceptionally on the night and was well supported by everybody. So certainly good, nice way to break the duck.
Johns inside Thaiday, into a yawning gap, turns the ball back on the inside to Mullen. Mullen back to Thaiday. He is going to score a sensational Newcastle try. And are we 17 minutes away from the first win of the season for Newcastle? In fact, it was. Quigley acting half. They go the short side again. Clint Newton, he reaches out and scores the try. And Newcastle, 4 minutes and 20 seconds, 13 seconds away from their first win of the year, are they?
They certainly were. Newcastle's nightmare is over. The drought finally broken for Michael Hagan's men as round 16 in the NRL continues.
It is Sunday race time again on Channel 9. The boys are thirsty early. That's fine because we've got a lot of work to get through. It's an exciting time of year. Origin sides for the decider will be announced tomorrow. There's been a few upsets this weekend. If you've tipped 4 out of 4, you are a genius. And Matty Johns, Paul Kent, MG here with me today to debate the league issues. First of all, let's look at the scores from round 16 so far in the Telstra Premiership. As I say, a few upsets in there. Roosters beating the Eels on Friday night at Aussie Stadium. Big controversy in there. We'll get to that in a moment. The Raiders, Jason Smith comes back last night, kicks the winning field goal against the Cowboys. The Knights have got their first win, their last win was September 4 last year. Their last away win was August 1 last year.
Release the pigeons.
And the Storm beating the Rabbitohs last night. It was a whitewash the first half. They run out winners 48-6. Billy Slater got a first half hat-trick last night. Phil Gould hosts the Sunday Footy Show today. Have full review and preview of those matches. Now, let's toast to begin with the start of this, boys. But I've got a big story to start with on Newcastle before we sing their praises. Michael Hagan, I'm here to report, is out of State of Origin number 3. He is going to be charged by the judiciary. Have a look at this incident last night. In light of the win, Michael Hagan has been charged with a Grade 1 striking offence. I think you will find... Here it is. Oh! Right over the back of the head. Now, that's probably 110 points. That will be enough to see him out of Origin. He's gone, Michael Hagan. Underneath, over the top.
Oh, that's his assistant, Johnny Davies. Look, what a great win for the Knights last night. A lot of hard work done through the week by Michael Hagan. Stephen Crow up there and also Paul the Chief Harrigan. They're starting to turn things around. The bloke I want to toast is Milton Thaiday. A lot of good performers last night. Andrew and Clint Newton. But Milton Thaiday, when they bought him, I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks ago, there were a lot of raised eyebrows. He had problems in the past with discipline and alcohol. But since he's been at the Knights, he's been absolutely outstanding. Milton, great to have you in the Novocastrian City, mate. Well done.
Now, Paul, just on the Newcastle Knights, now they can't make the 8. But, you know, on last night's form, and coming from behind the way they did, they trailed 14-0. I mean, they can be the ultimate nuisance value in this competition.
Yeah, particularly with Andrew in the form he's playing. Look, I was talking to a fella the other day and he's asked me about, you know, Newcastle for the wooden spoon. I said, look, South Sydney is still a chance here because if Joey gets back, Danny Buderus gets back, they'll start winning a few games, Newcastle.
You could have got $5 for South Sydney last week. I think it'll be slashed a little bit this week.
Perhaps the problem is they won a couple of weeks ago, which put them up another game, but even still.
This player's thrown the ball.
All right, I'll tell you what's going on here. There's too much nonsense going on now. You can go to the bin.
Frustration has boiled over. Terry Hill wins the battle, and Terry Hill absolutely egging Anthony Quinn on. There they are, separated by about 8 metres. Terry Hill waving, bye-bye sunshine.
If you can't toast them, roast them. That's our slogan. I think Anthony Quinn, that was from last Sunday. Terry Hill got a victim. Anthony Quinn roasted on 2 counts MG. 1, the thing we hate, throwing the ball at players' heads. And 2, he's left his team with 12 men. Sean Hampstead says, off you go.
Mate, that's why Sean Hampstead, I think, is firmed as the Origin referee. Straight away, get rid of him. 10 minutes in the bin. I regard a throw of the ball at a person's head as bad as a slap across the hand with a, you know, boom, boom. Get him off.
I'm not a fan of sledging, so I think sledging is a sign of weakness. But Terry Hill has got the bloke, hook, line and sinker then, as he did Clinton Torpy in round 1.
I haven't got a problem with sledging, so long as it doesn't go right into the gutter, you know, racial vilification and all that sort of stuff. Look, the thing about sledging is, and MGOT, when you go into grade, first grade football, mate, you cop it. You cop it as a young player. But if you respond by elevating your game and not your temper, it's gone. But if you show you can't handle it, mate, they'll just hammer you. Look at the Wards doing the cricket. You know, they made a career out of giving it to the Poms.
Well, he just got done cold, didn't he, Quinn? Then that's it. The minute you retaliate, you're gone. You've lost the battle, you're out. And Terry Hill, quite rightly, just waved ta-da. I think good on him.
Yeah, roastie of the week, Anthony Quinn, mate. But well done. You bounced back last night, young man. Well done. Now, from last week, the Immortal argument that we had over Andrew Johns being named an Immortal while he's still playing, some terrific responses from our viewers. They're very, very smart. But one in particular from Amber King, supporting that Joey should be an Immortal. I believe Joey has already reached the status of Immortal. If present Immortals think that Joey should be, if the question is even being debated, then there should be no doubt as to him being the next one, be it now or after he retires. I think it's a good point from Amber. Let the other Immortals decide on the case of Andrew Johns. I'm still not comfortable with him being inducted while he's still playing, but it's a good point Amber makes.
Hello there, thanks for joining us. Sunday Footy Show time again. We've got a lot of things to discuss today. We've got to get on with it. We're going to talk anti-tampering, we're going to talk gouging, we're going to talk video referees, we're going to talk State of Origin, all the results of the weekend game so far, and also the big game this afternoon. We'll preview that. Manly up against the Bulldogs at Brookie Oval. If you can't be there, 4 p.m. this afternoon on Channel 9. I'll get straight into our panel. We've got Brad Fittler here, we've got Paul Harrigan and David Fairley, and Daisy, the Knights are on the board.
Mate, it was fantastic. I'll tell you what, we dusted off the club song. It was out of tune. Some blokes didn't
didn't know it because they hadn't sung it before. It was just great for the players. Really happy for the players to get the 2 points. There was no way they were going to lose that.
We'll talk about the game a little bit later, but at half-time, filming it at half-time, you're down 14-0. Did they still think they could win?
You know what? It was surprisingly, it was the most positive I've seen the side at half-time, despite being 14-0 down. Penrith at Penrith Stadium. They came back 22 unanswered points in the second half. Tremendous effort.
Chief, I don't know what you're paying Andrew Johns. I've got a good idea, but what's he worth to the Knights?
Oh, you can't put a figure to it. You know, him just being there alone. Like, our attack is taking care of itself. Like, he makes other players, young players, play above himself, but. Yeah, Ricky Stewart said it himself, even at origin level, 25% more at training. He's honestly a 1 in 50-year player, and he's getting better with age. I just couldn't believe it last night. And like Daisy said, I think it's 294 days since we won, and that frustration was coming through. 20 minutes ago, we were never going to lose. You know what I'm saying?
Quickly acting half. They go the short side again. Clint Newton, he reaches out and scores the try. Newcastle is back in front. They are celebrating in Newcastle. They have broken their drought, the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, it was a great result. I think all 3 grades at Penrith, and we've been doing it tough for a number of weeks. Still had about 10 on the sideline, so it was a pretty good effort.
Michael Hagan there giving his assistant coach one in the belly and one over the top. He might be up at the judiciary too. And our 2 Newcastle boys have been bragging all the way through the break. You'd think they'd won a grand final. All right, I've kept you waiting long enough. Here it is, the Knights versus the Panthers. We'll go to their Premier League coach, David Fairley, to run you through the action.
This up, mate.
This was outstanding.
No, it was a fantastic night. It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Mathematically, we can still make it. No, it was a tremendous effort. Look, before the game, I just sensed that everyone, you get a feeling for the players. They were up, they were enthusiastic, and it's hard, like being a player, losing so many games. It's very hard to get up. This try here, you could see this one coming a mile off, and Reece Wester was obviously set for that one. The Newcastle players at half-time, it surprised me. They were 14-0 down. To come out in the second half, put on 22 points from behind, it was a tremendous effort. Clint Newton was fantastic for the Knights. And the thing I like about Nudo is that in a beaten side, he's enjoying his football, he's working hard, and he's training very hard, and he's doing a lot of work on the opposition, and it come through last night.
I said a couple of weeks ago, some of these young blokes that are going through this tough time will appreciate it later down the track, Chief.
But they will, and they're enjoying having the opportunity to play with Joey Johns. Second game back. Anthony Quinn, a great try there, but he'll make anyone look very good, and he was just on. He's getting better with age. Like, I can't believe his involvement in the first half. Look at that little ball there. And in the second half, he just brings them home. He's an amazing player. Now, Thaiday, he's been in the club 3 or 4 weeks. Like, there's a few problems with defence, but it's hard to educate blokes that's been in the system for 3 or 4 weeks and new blokes. But look, defence is something like that's really poor. But even at that stage, like Daisy's saying, I knew we were going to win because all that frustration and anger over the last 7 or 8 months was going to come through, and we're going to get that victory, and here it is right here.
This is joy. This is what rugby league is all about. Just look at this. Just sheer, unbridled, that's frustration and passion.
It was like the Bush Grand Final.
It's sensational.
We've won, and they did the lap of honour.
It was great. And look, Mick Hagan's got to get a mention here because, mate, he's been through hell, as you can imagine. Origin duties as well. He finally get a victory. It's not like a monkey off his back. It's dead set a tractor. And let's hope, look, the other thing too is there's a lot of talk about, one, people saying Newcastle's not going to win a game. Yeah. Newcastle's dead set to win the wooden spoon. I'll tell you right now, that wooden spoon is not coming near our city limits. It won't be there.
You won't let it
I'll
in.
wrestle anyone who says that.
All right, well, it would have been contrasting views in both dressing rooms last night. One sad, one very, very happy. Jimmy Smith went down to talk to the players.
At full time, the players responded like they'd won a grand final. They were that ecstatic.
Yeah, mate, it's just been 3 months of pure frustration for the players, and just that relief to win our first game. And we're not going to make any brash statements like we're going to come back and beat every team on the way home.
Now, you've got an unbelievable record here at Penrith Park. Any truth to the rumour that all your home games are going to be played out of here for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those grounds we seem to have the wood on Penrith for whatever reason, and we always seem to enjoy it when we come here, and we can take another couple off them tonight. So it's been great for us.
Mate, it's been a long, hard slog, and like I said, the feeling I think is relief. A bit of joy in it, but a relief. And a great result for the club, The monkeys off our back. The supporters, I guess, will go home a lot happier tonight, and it's been a long time coming.
Good result not only for the club, but also the city of Newcastle.
Yeah, I think everyone's happy. It's been a tough year for the club and the supporters, and all the players, but it feels like it's starting to turn around. We've got a major sponsor now, Colin Allied, and that was a gutsy win tonight. All the guys will take great confidence, and pleasing aspect was in defence. A lot of blokes were standing up, and there was a lot of energy there and a lot of excitement, so it's a good sign.
Like tonight, I think we're against a team everybody thought we'd win. We're in a winning position, and we just seem to look at the score and freeze up, and didn't start really firing again until until it looked like it was gone. When we got back in the lead, we froze up again.
Is that it for you guys for 2005?
It's not it until mathematically you can't make it, but it's that simple.
Can you make the 8?
I mean, it was like a bit of a semi-final sort of feel tonight, given that we've been struggling to get our first win on the board, but I think we'll just go pretty steady at this stage.
Now, for all New South Wales fans, how's the neck?
Yeah, the neck's fine. No problem. Come through well. So I'll enjoy it tonight and celebrate, and then back into training Monday and get ready for the next Origin, hopefully.
If selected.
If selected, yeah. Can't count your chickens, Jimmy.
Other stuff, of course, Riley Brown's had a really awful season for Newcastle. He dislocated his shoulder last night. He'll be out for the season.
Chief, little cheerio.
Yeah, quick cheerio to Wally Bentley, who's the Knights boxing coach and mentor. He's seriously ill at the moment at John Hunter Hospital. The boys won for you last night, mate. Hang in there. All the very best.
Now, you two Newcastle boys go and celebrate a little bit more this afternoon. Get yourselves ready for the Roosters next Saturday night.
Yes.
What do you think? You can get him? Can we get him?
Next week.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You hope so?
Yeah, for sure.
Parsons, Dunham, Kennedy, Rudder, Gidley, Kennedy. Now Tahu! He's got Quinn unmarked! Oh, Tahu! He simply said, get out of my way! I am going to score!
Bit of Timana Tahu magic. Have you ever tried that slam dunk it over the crossbar?
I haven't, mate, no. I don't think I could.
I couldn't even reach it. That was for the Knights back in 2002. A request by one of our viewers, Brett O'Neill.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Phelan. Welcome to Sports Tonight. Today's show is like a nightmare for some and a fairy tale for others. A time when knights who had fallen from grace returned to their valiant ways.
Clint Newton, reaches out and scores the try.
Their fearless leader issued strong words.
Yeah, personally, I think I'm on more of a high now than I was after the Origin.
Well, an angry Andrew Johns has slammed his fellow players for branding Braith Anasta as overrated. Speaking for the first time about the infamous players poll, Johns says the Bulldogs' 5'8" is on the verge of showing just how dominating he can be. It was a great night for Johns himself, inspiring his team to their first win of the season, beating Penrith 28-24. In other games, Canberra beat North Queensland by just a solitary point thanks to a Jason Smith drop goal, while Melbourne trounced South Sydney 48-6. But it's Joey's Knights who have finally got a reason to smile.
There's only seconds to go. They are celebrating in Newcastle. They have broken their drought. The Newcastle Knights have won their first game of season 2005.
After 13 straight losses, the Knights' night had finally come.
Yeah, personally, I think I'm on more of a high now than I was after the Origin. So, mate, just that happy for everyone and that proud of all the guys who played and stood up tonight.
You can't understate the importance of that to our football team and our club and our fans, and I think a real special win for our year, given that it's been so tough.
Newcastle coming back from 14-0 down at Penrith to record a 28-24 win. Clint Newton bagging a double to seal victory. Andrew Johns got through the match with his neck feeling no ill effects. What he did feel sick from was this week's player poll, claiming Blues 5'8" Braith Anasta is overrated.
I think it's disgusting that players even, I suppose the question will be asked, but players shouldn't say it's. Probably there's a bit of jealousy there, but for me personally, I've got much respect for Braith as a player and as a person. And obviously he's hurt by that, but he'll come back and you watch him when he plays Origin 3.
Andrew Johns' remarkable comeback continues, inspiring the Knights to their first win of the year against the Panthers, who now have little hope of making the finals.
Even with their captain back, it looked as though Newcastle's fans were in for another long night. But 14-0 down, Johns rallied his teammates, then inspired a courageous fight back.
Woeful defence from the Panthers, and Newcastle are back in it.
It was like watching Origin 2 all over again, as the champion halfback stamped his class on the match, setting up 3 of Newcastle's 5 tries.
He is going to score a sensational Newcastle try.
Penrith hit back to regain the lead, but in the dying minutes, Newton stormed over for his second.
Newcastle is back in front.
The Knights celebrating their first win of the season. What a relief for the captain and the coach.
You can't understate the importance of that to our football team and our club and our fans.
We've just got to get down the shed and teach the boys the victory song now.
The Knights could be investigated for having a 14th man on the field in last night's win over the Panthers, but not even that could detract from their first win of the season, engineered by captain Andrew Johns.
Newcastle fans were riding on the return of Andrew Johns, but the Panthers were just as desperate for success and piled on the points to make it 14-0 at half-time.
And that will be the easiest try that Danny Gidley will ever score.
Joey came up with a comeback plan, and that old Newcastle spirit started to build.
Great ball, Johns. Tie into space. Will he score? He will!
There was a lot of energy and there was a lot of talk and everyone was buzzing and just felt like the team of old.
Johns inside Thaiday, into a yawning gap, turns the ball back on the inside to Mullen. Mullen back to Thaiday. He is going to score a sensational Newcastle try.
Luke Priddis had blurred vision after a high shot from Luke Quigley, but he battled on to put the Panthers back in front 24-22. This was Newcastle's night though. Clint Newton, the hero. A 13-match losing streak broken at last.
We've just got to get down the shed and teach the boys the victory song now.
And Luke Priddis will train with the team in case Danny Buderus is ruled out.
Buderus hasn't played since injuring his foot in Origin 2, and up until today he's been wearing a special brace. The Blues captain won't make any decisions until later in the week.
I'm just going to roll the legs over today and just slowly get a bit more movement in it, and I'm not going to run till probably Thursday or anything like that.
In the meantime, Priddis will just have to bide his time.
I'm not going to nurse myself through. I want to train every session, so if I can't do that, I'll definitely rethink it.
And there could be more changes with skipper Danny Buderus, given until Thursday to get over a toe injury. Penrith's Luke Priddis is on standby.
No, I'm not going to needle it. I learnt last year all about that, so if I have to do that, I won't play.
If I get the throw on the jumper on that Wednesday night, it'll be spectacular, and I'll just do the best that I can do.
Quickly acting half. They go the short side again. Clint Newton, he reaches out and scores the try.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I'm hoarse for screaming at the boys. We worked hard, we were in front and then we were behind. It just shows what sort of guts these blokes have got. We haven't had a win all year and we fought it out to the death.
It must have felt like they'd won 3 grand finals, and playing the Knights after they've lost 13 games straight was almost a no-win situation for the Panthers. They certainly were expected to win, but losing was the way it turned out for them in a way they'd hoped to avoid. It now makes it very tough for them to make the finals.
Yeah, it certainly does. Look, I was happy for Michael Hagan and the Knights players after the game. They've endured so much over the last 14 rounds. It was great to see them come back in that second half. The first 40 minutes looked as though Penrith are getting on a roll, but the game changed in the first 10 minutes after half-time. I thought Penrith were very ill-disciplined, they lacked a good attitude, and they really gave the game away to Newcastle.
Here are the highlights, Junior, from the first half, and Penrith scored 2 tries through Danny Gidley and 1 to Reece Wesser, and they looked like comfortable winners at this stage. They were going to run away from them.
Well, it did, and in the past we've seen the Knights minus Andrew Johns fall away and capitulate a little bit in the second half, but it shows you the difference of Andrew Johns and his ability to inspire his team. Everything seemed to go for the Panthers early on in this match, and it was a situation where you think, well, how much? But as we've seen, except for Melbourne, in this weekend's game, Melbourne was the only team that scored first and went on to win the game. All the other teams that scored first lost the match, and the Penrith just went off the boil in that second half.
They might have done the old swap the jumpers at half-time, perhaps, because the Newcastle Knights came out and scored 4 tries in the opening 20 minutes of the second half and found themselves suddenly with an 8-point lead.
And how good was this bloke, Clint Newton? I mean, he's had an absolutely barnstorming game, was hunting out wide, and then once again Andrew Johns involved in the constructive work. He's just got that vision. They hold their width, the outside backs, and they capitalise on their opportunities. And here's another example of where the bounce of the ball went the way of Newcastle in the second half. In the first half, it all went the way of Penrith. The second half, the way of Newcastle.
Sloppy by Penrith, wasn't it, though? I mean, for a side that's supposed to be playing for a semi-final position, the Knights were just looking for their first victory. You would think after the previous week against Melbourne, where they had a fantastic victory, and playing back at home would be enough to inspire them to victory. But as Junior said, the Andrew Johns class, when he was presented with an opportunity, he grabbed it with both hands.
Yeah, the Panthers have done it quite a few times this year, and especially after they fought back, having given up the lead, they then fight back again, and you think, well, OK, they'll finally put this one away. But then they let Newcastle come back once again.
Well, that's mental. It's your mental attitude. You just can't assume in this game that anything's going to happen. You've got to make it happen, and you've got to stay tough. And Johnny Lang, I'm sure, has spoken to his players about staying tough for 80 minutes and riding out the tough periods, just not falling over so easy. That's what's happening with Penrith at the moment. When they go through a poor patch during a game, they leak points.
Well, Johnny Lang Jr. would have been very disappointed with the way the winning try for Clint Newton was scored. Down the short side, just a one pass off the ruck, and he was able to crash over fairly easily. Yeah,
I mean, they had the numbers there in defence as well, but they were paddling across field. They just didn't seem enthusiastic, and didn't look like they won the grand final. Have a look at that. That's their first win of the season. I think it just shows you just how much it meant to them to get that monkey off their back. You know, they've been close in a number of games this year, couldn't quite get there. They probably couldn't believe it in the end.
It was a poor decision by Dave McLean when he went to make the tackle. Just technique-wise, he went too low. He needed to be tackling over the football that close to the line. Newton broke the tackle and was always going to be able to plant the ball down.
OK, well, after the game, Gary Freeman spoke with Newcastle captain Andrew Johns.
Andrew, 14 long weeks?
14, it feels a lot longer, mate, but I couldn't be more proud of these blokes, and great team effort. You know, a lot will be said about our attack. You know, we scored so many points that it was our defence that won it. A lot of times we defend our line, and there was a lot of energy and a lot of trust there. It's a great feeling.
Did you really believe coming here tonight there was an opportunity that you would come away with the win?
Yeah, we did. We had a good week. It was hardly any injuries during the week. Everyone trained together, and there was a bit of a buzz, I suppose. Sometimes, you know, at training, it's hard to get on the field, but 14-0 down and come back, and it was a great effort. As I said, I'm proud of the blokes, and probably on a high more now than I was after an Origin. I wouldn't say it's a monkey effort back, it's more like a gorilla.
Probably a jungle full of gorillas. Now, Luke Quigley has been charged with a Grade 1 careless eye tackle for this particular hit here. I think this week the match reviewers have got it pretty much right in most of the cases. I thought this one, though, might have been a Grade 2 or maybe even Grade 3 careless eye tackle.
Get the early plea in before they change their mind.
Yeah, I thought that one's a little bit heavier than the other ones.
With his good record and early plea and the 25% discount, he won't miss a match, Luke Quigley.
And Queensland to target Andrew Johns in the Origin decider. With State of Origin 3 just around the corner, Queensland is desperately searching for a way to shut down Andrew Johns. Maroon's great Wally Lewis says Queensland needs to physically intimidate Johns to put him off his game.
This man doesn't look like he has a target on his head, but ask any Queenslander and he does. Today, the King Wally Lewis saying it's time to let Andrew Johns know he's in an Origin decider.
Look, Joey's so creative. You just got to make sure he ends up in the ground every time he runs with the ball, and probably make sure he feels contact with that driving shoulder.
You know, if you can get a chance to get at him, then definitely got to put pressure on him.
Blues prop Luke Bailey expects Queensland to rough Johns up and wouldn't be surprised if they bent the rules.
To be honest, it's probably what you have to do. You know, what he did to him last Origin was enormous, but in saying that, we're going to try and give him the best protection, the best go forward we can.
With this afternoon's training cancelled, the Blues' other key playmaker, Danny Buderus, is expected to be past fit tomorrow.
Let's find out a little bit more about New South Wales. The one thing that the New South Wales coach, Ricky Stewart, has persisted with, he wants to get the loyalty factor going in this team.
Loves all.
And he wants the players to realise they have a responsibility from players who came before them. Now, last night they went on a team bonding session. A lot of former Blues players were there, including one of the very, very best.
To me, this bloke has shown so much passion towards New South Wales. He's shown so much respect for the jumper. I'd like to introduce you to Reagan. Oh,
Guys, tonight's about camaraderie, boys. It's about mateship. Mateship, about sticking up for one another, not stabbing each other in the back. I'm staring at you when I say that, Tahu, okay? But boys, it's more than that. Tonight's about discipline. Having a couple of beers and enjoying ourselves, but not getting carried away. The last thing I want to see in the morning is waking up, picking up the paper and reading about bloody Danny Buderus and his merry gang of goons on the town carrying on. When I say that, I'm looking at Gaz here. Okay, Gaz, are we Boys, look, seriously, tonight, just got to remember, you young blokes are going to this third game, that you're carrying the blood, the sweat and the tears and the footsteps of great Origin players that have gone before you. Guys like Roach, Clyde, Sterling, Mortimer, Laurie Daly, Phil Daly, Phil Duke, Ross Conlon, a lot of great players over the years. And on the subject of mateship and discipline, before we go any further, before we get pissed and paralytic, I just want to take a roll call if we could. Nasta, Barjas, yep. Bailey, Buderus, good to have you on board, Skipper. Kennedy, love you, BK. Okay, Gower. Yep. Let's keep the slug in the pants tonight, Gower. Simpson. Yep. Ryan. Yeah, mate. Menzies. Yep. Kamali. Kamali. No, if they don't need to answer, they're going to play smart ass, it's gone. Bang. Gillespie. Pay. Young. Yep. Palmer. Yep. Nice hair, Ron, by the way. And Stewart. Love you, Coach. You and your son. Righto, boys, let's get pissed. Let's go. Let's go. The bus. Best report. Later on the show, you'll see a second part where Reggie ups the ante a little. By the end of the night, Reggie's a little bit sloppy. I'll give you the jump.
Speaking of the New South Wales side, we mentioned earlier there's some news coming out of their camp. Andrew Voss has been invited along tonight to their team talk.
G'day, boys. Hello, everyone. And I know it's raining up there. Plenty of rain up on the Gold Coast. Been plenty of rain in Sydney as well. In fact, the New South Wales training session was washed out this afternoon. It meant that Danny Buderus, who was to have a fitness test this afternoon, now has to wait until tomorrow. Let's check in with the Blues captain right now. G'day, Danny. Mate, would you have passed a fitness test today?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very confident playing. I was scrapping a different way today, so I'm looking forward to it.
It is disruptive, though, isn't it, losing a session? You would have liked everything to go according to plan?
Yeah, it's no problem. No, we'll just put another session on later in the week, which we probably would have had off. So we'll just rearrange things, but it's no problem.
All right, Danny, good luck for the fitness test tomorrow. Let's go along. Now, you remember the goal kicking in Origin 2. Craig Fitzgibbon, this man, was the first choice kicker. And then when Craig was off the field, Andrew Johns steps up to the plate, kicks 2 or 3 from the sideline. We understand there's going to be a best of 17 arm wrestling challenge here tonight to decide the first choice kicker. Joey, who's going to be the first choice kicker, mate?
I think Fitz is. We've already had the arm wrestling. He towed me.
nine love.
Yeah. He towed me in a lot of things, but also arm wrestling.
Big opportunity, though. I mean, you've done it before up there at Suncorp Stadium. It'll still be nice to get the chance to kick for one of those great moments.
Yeah, well, we're both. I don't think we do handle the pressure all right and enjoy kicking. So if Fitz is off, I don't mind stepping up and kicking, but while he's on, he can do it. I just want to send a cheerio to Matty. Just say thanks for showing up last night and making a complete dick of yourself. Thanks a lot, mate.
There you go. Hello, Matt. Ditto those sentiments.
The last time we saw Reg, the night was just starting to unfold with the Blues. Let's see how it finished.
Ricky, you should be congratulated. The master stroke, bring him into camp. Made 1-1 in the series, you pull them through, but now you pull out the big guns.
Mate, you always need some tool in preparation to get the players motivated, and I really had to think long and hard about it, and I thought, Reg, probably one of the greatest players to ever play Origin, probably one of the most disciplined and the fiercest.
Ricky, well said, probably a little understated, but, mate, Queensland, TBA. What sort of Gaylord act are they trying to pull on us now, mate? They just make their own rules, Ricky. Let's be serious.
Yeah, look, we're full into our preparation, and we've got 17 players.
Yeah, exactly. TBA, stick it right up your ass. Hey, Fitzy, how are you, old son?
Hey, Reggie, how you going, mate?
How good's this, eh? The boys just getting together, having a bit of innocent bonding, just talking about good old times.
Blowing the frost clean off a couple, mate. That's what we're doing.
Sonny, have a drink of that. Oh, I pissed in it. You just drink my own urine. How good did it taste?
Pure VB.
Standing here with a bloke who personally I'd love to see him get smashed next Wednesday night, but the whole state seems to be behind him. How are you, Barjas?
Good, thanks, Reg. How are you?
Mate, I'll take a guess. I'm fantastic.
Free piss. That's why you're good.
Yeah, that's right. Mate, the boy, how good is it having legends around tonight?
It's a good night. They're all here and all passing on good stories. Tommy Radonica's told some sensational stories. I wouldn't say X-rated, more like triple X-rated.
Because you young blokes these days, you talk about pressure. You know what pressure is? You know what pressure is? When there's about 2 seconds left on the clock and you got a broken arm, you got a broken leg, you got a twisted testicle, and your shoes are on the wrong foot, and you got to kick it from the sideline. P.S. Let me tell you, Rolsey, straight over the black dot. Mate, I'm privileged to be captain of this bunch, bloke, top bloke.
He's over there, mate. Just over there.
Mate, you're a top bloke.
He's a good bloke, mate. Good.
Hey, you're a top bloke.
Oh, it's me. I'm the top bloke.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, you're awesome. You got a great body.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Reggie.
You got a great body on you.
Yours pretty good, mate. It's looking better with each beer, I think.
Does the captain still get his own room?
You want to come back?
Mate, there's so much respect for you blokes. Blokes like, all you blokes, so awesome. It's, mate, what's going on with Billy Slater? I already got kicked out of chair because you caught having sex with Wayne Barrett. Is that true?
I heard Nick Hagan, but what you heard?
What would happen to you if you could have sex with me? No, mate, joking. No, Key, you're an awesome bloke. And I tell you, Key, an awesome player, and mate, you're the best bloke, and I love you, mate. Fuck me.
Thanks, Reg.
Assholes. We just want to pass on our best wishes. Reggie's watching the show tonight. I think he's in a police station somewhere down south. So, Reggie, hope you had a good night, mate.
Good news tonight for the Newcastle Knights. West Leagues and the Knights, their talks are going very well, and Newcastle has told the NRL that, in fact, they're not going to need some kind of funding from the NRL in order to get out of a tough situation.
And Rugby League Week. This week, we call it the Bible. Andrew Johns hoping for another man of the match performance next Wednesday night. Origin, you'll see it live and exclusive on the National 9 network from 7:30 p.m. next Wednesday.
Also, why Andrew Johns isn't worried about getting roughed up by the Maroons. OK, big boost for the Blues tonight. Injured skipper Danny Buderus cleared to play.
Been a terrific week for the New South Wales team. Tim, Nathan Hindmarsh cleared to play. The New South Wales players made some children at the Randwick Children's Hospital today very, very happy. And of course, the good news is that the captain has overcome a foot injury. It's a big load off everyone's mind. He tore ligaments during Origin 2 and hasn't played since.
It means the world to everyone, doesn't it? It's a third, it's a decider. We're going up there to Queensland. Only one team's ever done it before, and it'll be a great achievement.
Andrew Johns is grateful his Knights club mate will be there to make his job easier. Johns is going to need a lot of protection, with former Queensland great Wally Lewis suggesting the Maroons bend the rules, if need be, to contain the halfback.
Oh, well, it happens to me every game. Every get targeted in attack and defence. And I'd be silly to think they wouldn't try to get to me early and rough me up, but I think I'm a big boy and can look after myself.
Johns is confident his masterful display in Game 2 can be repeated.
Things have to go my way, I suppose, to play that well again, but I'm confident I can turn up and play to that level again. Sure I can.
New South Wales will now have an extra training session tomorrow before leaving on Sunday.
And Blues skipper Danny Buderus fit for the Origin decider.
We have some big news of our own to report tonight. Channel 9 will continue telecasting Rugby League until 2012. The NRL has struck a new $500 million deal for the game's free-to-air and paid TV rights. Among the changes, 9 will broadcast a doubleheader every Friday night from 2007.
It's an exciting time for the game, an exciting time for our clubs, an exciting time for the grassroots.
The 9 network will continue showing State of Origin and Test matches. Meantime, a major boost for New South Wales tonight with skipper Danny Buderus past fit for next Wednesday's Origin decider. Buderus has been battling a toe injury.
They don't come much tougher than the Blues hooker, and his teammates have been certain for days that he'd be fit. This afternoon, Buderus admitted he will play in pain despite being given the all clear.
I think everyone's carrying injuries at the moment, so I'll be fine to get by.
I think everyone knows the combination I've got with Danny, so it'll make my job easier and all the teams.
With the Blues showing their soft side at the Children's Hospital, the talk turned to Queensland's threats to stop Johns, legally or otherwise.
Oh, well, it happens to me every game. Every game I get targeted in attack and defence, and I'd be silly to think they wouldn't try to get to me early and rough me up, but I think I'm a big boy and can look after myself.
Luke Davico has given the Knights a much-needed boost, signing a 2-season deal.
Well, mate, in the conditions and given the circumstances of players being out, I guess it was always going to be a bit of a tough, grinding game, but it was a contest nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a contest, and I guess we were in the game at about 16-10, and we started the second half pretty brightly, but I guess on the back of the intercept, and then I think we made a couple of errors on the back of that, and that probably killed us off a bit. But effort at times was fair, but just a couple of fundamental things are hurting us at the moment.
Oh, intercept! It is Brett Finch. He must have been in his ear. You nearly chased him down there when he got the intercept.
I think I did. I think he passed it because he didn't want to be insulted and bagged after the game, knowing that I caught him, so I let him know about it. But no, Brett's one of my best mates, so it was always good to play against him, and he just needs to work on his speed a little bit more.
There's no need for me to go 100 when I'd aim off something outside, but I think Nudo's going great. The opportunity to grow up with him, and he's put a lot of work into his game, and he's been outstanding.
Origin's over Wednesday. You get your boys back. I bet you can't wait.
Listen, I think that was the biggest interruption. I think, we've been trying to work on some things, and the interruptions, whether it be suspension, Origin, injury, it's just put us back every time. So, clean slate come Thursday. Hopefully they get through the game all right, and we can basically start our year.
You've got the ability to make Michael Hagan's week a really tough one. Beat his club side tonight, and you could end his Origin hopes on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, better him than me. He's going through a tough time at the moment, Mick, but the Knights will pull out of it. They've got a lot of injuries, and it's difficult times, but now it's into the Origin, and we're just going to make sure our preparation's good, and we've got to make sure that we hit Wednesday night all ready to go.
Early cracked a smiley, Ricky Stewart, at the end of what's been a tough week at club level. A couple of personal raps. I think Clint Newton, since coming back from that long suspension, has been absolutely superb week in, week out for the Newcastle team.
And Josh Perry, well, he may well be a Cowboy. Had a bit of a holiday in Townsville late this week, and he may well end up playing for Graham Murray's side. State of Origin, we've been talking about it all show. Wednesday, the big decider, and Andrew Johns. A little bit of scare in the camp yesterday. He injured his knee, felt a bit of tightness, had some icing, had a massage. He's back to 100%. And when I caught up with him for Around the Grounds, had a good chat with him, but I began by asking about the Knights' first win of the season last weekend.
Yeah, even the start of the week at training, you could see everyone had a bounce in their step. Everyone was a lot happier. Our bus trip home was just sensational. We haven't had one of those bus trip homes like that for ages, and it breeds team spirit. So right through the club and the fans will get confidence from that. So hopefully we can take it through to the end of the year.
what a difference a few weeks can make, a broken jaw or a sore neck. Have you learnt just to sort of roll up and see how the day treats you every day, whether it's going to be a good one or a bad one?
Yeah, definitely. And, that's why I wasn't so ecstatic after game 2 or so much of a high, because I know it can be taken all away from you and it just rips you to shreds when you build yourself up so much and then it gets all taken away. So I'm enjoying it at the moment. Things are going really well, but I know around the corner they can go awful.
What will the bus trip be like if you win this one?
Yeah, it should be a good one too, but I like them bus trips.
Always smiling Andrew Johns.
The Sydney Roosters continue to cling to 8th spot after defeating the Knights in Newcastle, down 7 of their stars through origin duty, injury and suspension. The Roosters relied on their up-and-comers to record a hard-fought 28-14 win.
And they cannot stop Amos Roberts.
Hello everybody, I'm John Casey and welcome once again to Main Game. My thanks to Peter Jenkins for holding the fort while I've been at Wimbledon, but forget about the tennis, State of Origin is the big ticket item, and to tell us more about last night's Andrew Johns-inspired New South Wales riot, we have Dean Ritchie, James Hooper and Paul Kent from the Daily Telegraph in Sydney. From Brisbane's Courier Mail we have Steve Ricketts along with Jim Tucker on Rugby Union, and tonight I'm in our Melbourne studio to talk AFL with Mark Robinson, Mark Stevens and Damien Barrett from the Herald Sun. But first, last night, and a mind-boggling display from Andrew Johns left Queensland's reputation in tatters at Suncorp Stadium as the Blues cruised home 32-10. Wrapping up the series 2-1 in emphatic fashion, New South Wales ruined the night for the 52,000 Queenslanders who turned up, Paul Kent.
Yeah, John, I think as good as the night was and as good as the performance was from Andrew Johns, I think New South Wales really won the game in that first 15 minutes when the Queenslanders had so much attack and so much field position against New South Wales. Once they couldn't get through, I thought it really broke the Queenslanders' hearts. They thought, we've had all this ball and we haven't been able to score. How are we going to score for the rest of the game? I think that's where they went into trouble.
It broke them. It absolutely broke them. 29 consecutive tackles and they couldn't get through. They brought Matt Bowen in knowing they had to score more points. Yeah. They had to score at least 30. They couldn't get through early. That was game over.
Yeah, the class factor was clearly evident and that highlights it. But you talk now and you talk about possibly a New South Wales dynasty. Like New South Wales, if they keep Andrew Johns, Braith and Astor, all those guys, where are Queensland's next generation coming from?
Yeah, Queensland's whole problem in this series has been they've been unable to score enough points to win the game. They scored 20 points in game 1 and even then had to go into extra time. And that was the most points they scored. They tried to come up with different ways this time to try and score some points. They're unable to do that. I think New South Wales, look, they're clearly the dominant state at the moment. I think Queensland have really got to try and find some answers.
What about Joey again, though? He had a hand in all 6 tries. He had a hand in all 5 in the Sydney game. It was just another remarkable performance from arguably the greatest player of the modern era, if not of all time.
I think he is, and but I think the bloke
greatest player of all time.
I think he's the greatest player of all time. Yeah, I think he will be remembered that way.
Well, if shell-shocked Queenslanders are looking for an answer to last night's debacle, perhaps they should consider that their coach has lost 15 out of his last 17 games. Steve Ricketts, will Michael Hagan be invited to coach Queensland again next year?
Well, first of all, I don't think Michael will want to take on the job. I think he's had enough. He's going to go back and talk to his family about his future. I think Queensland will probably look to Mal Meninga, the former great Queensland centre, and perhaps Craig Bellamy as a partnership to coach Queensland next year. I don't think the Queensland tactics were great in the series, and perhaps the use of the interchange bench could have been a lot better. I do think, though, you mentioned Joey Johns. I think if Joey Johns was playing for Queensland last night, maybe Queensland win. But that's not taking anything away from what's an awesome New South Wales team. When I look at that three-quarter line, those 4 big blokes, that's one of the classiest three-quarter lines I've ever seen. And that also was one of the big differences in the contest last night.
But Steve, look, Craig Bellamy, obviously, the mail around at the moment is that Craig Bellamy is going to be taking over as coach. Don't you think that they need a guy in like him? He's a young coach, he's got fresh ideas, he's very intense. He's one of his closest friends is Ricky Stewart. It had really turned the series on, and I think that it's the right move to make.
Yeah, well, Wayne Bennett is still the director of State of Origin, so to speak, and of course Craig Bellamy was Wayne's offsider at the Broncos.
Queensland, isn't he?
Yeah, well, some say he's got more power than Peter Beattie, and the Premier, and they might be right. But Craig Bellamy was also Wayne Bennett's right-hand man on the Tri-Nations tour last year. And the Queensland Rugby League have said they will not rule out appointing a New South Welshman, which Craig is. They did appoint a New Zealander some years ago, and Graham Lowe, of course.
He's just a great player. Now, coming on the Footy Show, we've got the Scare Weird Little Guys, a great tribute to Choppy Close, but now here's a little feature piece on what Origin families go through on the night of the game.
And remember, Lady Luck is on your side.
Yeah, good on you, Amanda. That was my mother at the end there. Gail Johns, actually. Not a bad-looking woman, Gail. I get my good looks from. There you go. Yeah, welcome back to the Footy Show. Now, look, as we know, the Knights are having a wretched season with injuries, but we've been joined by a couple of players tonight. They're good blokes, great characters, Kurt Gidley and Mark Boozy Hughes.
G'day, boys. How's it going?
Have a look at the boys there limping out. That's a bat. Unbelievable. Now, Kurt, you've been out for a long time with a quad injury.
Yeah.
Expect a bat next week?
Yeah, hopefully. It's been really frustrating on the sideline and, not playing and not training. It's pretty tough.
Now, it's been a tough season, but I think 2 weeks ago, Cole and Allied jumped on board, boys. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was great news for the club, Matty. We've been searching for positives and that was certainly a big one for us.
Yeah, Boozy, you've had fantastic support up there at Newcastle. Obviously, not the results on the footy field, but the fans are certainly stuck solid.
Yeah, for sure, Price. They've really stood up and showed what passionate supporters they are, and they've been the real big positive for us this year. They're sticking with us. Sure, we're not getting the results, but they're trying hard, and a few wins are just around the corner.
Mark, you're off the paddock for a while as well, and it's a result of a broken leg. Now, you broke your leg and then you played for an hour. Why would you have done that?
Well,
did you know it was broken?
No, I did it in the 20th minute, and I did hear it was a break of some description. And
well, that'd be a broken leg then. Yeah.
We're not that smart up there, mate. And anyway, got to half time. We put a fair few needles into it and got through it. And after the game, it blew right up. And the next day, the results were a broken leg, so it was pretty disappointing.
That's a great tribute to Hughesy. He's a great club stall and one of the toughest blokes going around. We saw some footage before Kurt about our first win this year. A great relief for the club to get that win, wasn't it? It was very important. Yeah, for sure. It was disappointing not to be a part of it. It was like missing out on a grand final, I suppose. We went down and watched the game ourselves, and it was back to the days of being a supporter and that sort of thing, and on the edge of our seat.
Now, Hughesy, mate, leaving the club at the end of the season, disappointing, mate. You're going to go to the English Super League, we believe.
Yeah, Matt, we're just looking around at a few options over there. Had a great time at Newcastle. It's been about 9 years in first grade now, so loved every minute of it, and looking forward to the next challenge.
Mate, let's reminisce. 97 and 2001. We've got to talk about that a little bit. Great highlight.
I'll tell you the highlight for me was
maybe 97.
After the 97 grand final, right? These two blokes, these two Roosters, Chief Hagan and Mark Boozy, last blokes out on the drink. This is on the Thursday. Chief collapses at the pub. Hughesy pulls Chief onto his shoulders and drags him out of the pub to a standing ovation. That's the sort of bloke.
He is.
Great memories.
And plays with broken legs. He's a dead set champion, Hughesy, but good times.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chief led me on the field, so I tried to lead him off the field.
Now, mate, another thing, Hughesy, people don't know about you is you've actually got an alter ego, a bloke called Julius Merlo. Let's just take a little look at it.
I didn't know enough about this one.
Let's just have a little look at it.
Typical of the Mafia Code, crime boss Mr B wasn't saying anything outside as he prepared to front a range of charges surrounding racketeering and a questionable commercial appearance for a concrete company.
He'll have his chance to talk in court. What about how come he turned up in a red Monaro? How come you're wet?
With Mr B sent down on all charges, Merlo was left a lonely man, failing to win any of his big-name cases.
He will be looked after. Is it true you're under suspicion for the same crime? Mr. Miller, you're as sleazy as your client.
Will there be an appeal? Will there be an appeal?
You're as sleazy as your client. Here's an appeal. Miller. Here's an appeal for the lot of you. How's that?
Hughesy, look, on behalf of all Knight supporters, I'd just like to say, are you on drugs?
Cuff me.
Newcastle is the home of the alter ego because we know there's plenty of others started from there. Crazy stuff. Hey, listen, talk about skits. Kurt, you wasn't too long ago, you got Mario Fennick in A Little Beauty, a great little sting, didn't you? You and your brother? A little bit of it. It was just meant to be a normal sort of footy story about a family, that sort of thing, and
We had a little chat behind the scenes and teed something up.
Well,
so
I tell you,
he still holds it against me.
Well, I tell you what, boys, let's have another look,
Soft
eh?
target.
Now, 2 against 1. I'm outnumbered. There you go.
Quick.
Oh, hang on. Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry. Is he serious? He ran at me. Oh, this is good, mate. This is good. Oh. It's an accident. It's an accident. I've done nothing. What are you doing?
It's a fool. Here. Yeah, get up and have a run. Get up and have a run. Just have a run on it. Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Gee up,
I get scared of you.
Yeah, Mario. It's an accident.
It's an accident. He did hurt a few. Now, guys, this weekend it's an important game, and we've travelled back with the your rep players. Steve Simpson looks as though he'll definitely be out, but Danny and Joey seem fairly confident they'll play. How's the preparation been during the week? You've obviously been around the camp, and confidence must have picked up in the last couple of weeks, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if Joey and Danny can sober up by Sunday, we're a big chance. But, haven't seen them. But nah, look, yeah, they've pulled up really well. Well, they will tomorrow, but no, we've been playing well, and at home we're really hopeful of putting in a real good showing against the Cowboys.
I lucked out this morning. I was on the plane with them coming back. I sat next to Joey on the way back. Joey Johns is the most popular man in New South Wales at the moment. The flatulence problem he had on the plane, he nearly got thrown out of the plane.
All the goodwill he's got nearly went in. If he'd done it one more time, the plane was going to revolve. I'll give you the drum. But just before we go, your quad muscle, when are you back?
Yeah, next week, hopefully. I was hoping to be back this week, but yeah, I've already torn it twice before, so I can't quite risk it at the moment.
Absolutely.
Well, but I tell you what, boys, thanks very much for coming down. Boys, thank the boys. And to take us into the break, we're going to have a look at some of the highlights of Mark Doozy Hughes' career. Andrew John puts up an almighty bomb.
The cheek went up with the crowd. Hughes is over. 20,900 Gallop in forward.
Andrew John, he gets the ball away to Hughes, and Hughes is over.
Newcastle first try. Puts the centre three-quarter away. Hughes has scored in the game. It's not 60 seconds off. It's tight. He draws the ball back. He has sent Mark Hughes away. And Hughes goes away to score the try. 3 tries for the night in almost 3 minutes of football. Let's go.
All right, well, having toasted both Anthony Minicello and Andrew Johns now, a little criticism perhaps here for Andrew Johns. When New South Wales was under pressure, close to their line, defending set after set after set from Matt Murphy, one of our viewers, what is the difference between Andrew Johns' tactic of time wasting by receiving treatment in the Origin game, which Paul Kent described in the Telegraph during the week as cunning shining through, and the frowned practice of players taking a dive after a suspect tackle? Now, Andrew Johns, this was the incident. I mean, this was the 4th set of 6, and then all of a sudden, back towards the post, where a line dropout has to be taken, Andrew Johns goes down for treatment on the knee. Now, that's gamesmanship. You're not going to tell me your brother was hurt here. And even if he was, why doesn't the referee just say, play on, let's take the line dropout?
Well, the reason they couldn't is Andrew was smart enough to fall down straight between the posts where the field goal needed to be kicked, or the dropout needed to be kicked. Look, is it right? No, it isn't. Is it smart play? Yes, it is, without a shadow of a doubt. The difference is between players taking dives, he wasn't trying to draw a penalty, and secondly, he wasn't trying to get a guy put on report. Yeah, like I said before, wasn't right, was smart.
Rabs, you've watched more football than any of us here, and I say that with the greatest of respect. I mean, last week we had the referee stop play for a bloke to do up his shoelace. The referees are being hoodwinked here. I would have thought Paul Simpkins would have a feel for the game there and say, we're going to still go ahead with the line dropout. If you want to get up, Andrew, get up.
Yeah, that's a fair point you make, but how do you take a line dropout when you've got a bloke lying on the ground getting apparent treatment from a trainer who's got some medical background, and you as the referee say, take the line drop out. Suddenly it hits him in the noggin, and you've got further injury. Now he's got concussion, but plus a busted knee. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. I mean, these blokes are not medicos. I know what he was doing. Every viewer knows what he was doing. It was gamesmanship. They were absolutely stuffed.
The referee should have
They
said...
were absolutely out
The
there.
referee should have said, let's do the dropout regardless of...
Move him over to the side.
Drag him out of the way.
That's it.
Bring in half the tune to drag him.
Yeah.
Jeez, I tell you what, you're dealing with dangerous territory here.
Matty, will Andrew Johns play today for the Knights?
I believe he will. He's still having a bit of trouble with that knee, but he'll play today. And I tell you what, boys, it says a lot about the competition that they're up against the Cowboys today, 3rd versus 15th, but I can smell an upset. I really think it can happen today.
You say that every week about the Knights.
He does. Yeah, that's right. Fair enough, I do. You got me.
I love your loyalty. I just love that.
This afternoon, so the best place to be at 4 o'clock is right in front of your TV. Channel 9 Newcastle Knights up against the North Queensland Cowboys at Energy Australia Stadium. And up there at Newcastle at the moment is Peter Sterling to preview the match.
Yeah, I hope you guys are nice and warm in studio while us workers are out in the elements. Only the hardy fans will make their way to Energy Australia this afternoon. But then again, the Newcastle supporters have turned up in extreme conditions before. Very different motivation for the two clubs this afternoon, with Manly and Cronulla beaten last night. A big opportunity for North Queensland to grab outright third on the competition ladder at this stage of the season. That would be a big boost to them. Newcastle would not have been happy to see South Sydney take points last night. That opens up a 5-point gap at the bottom of the table. In fact, it's worse than that, with South Sydney still having the bye to come. And, of course, Newcastle desperate to avoid the wooden spoon. The good news for the home side is the fact that both Andrew Johns and Danny Buderus will play. We travel back on the plane with them Thursday morning. Even at that stage, they felt as though they would be okay to play on a Sunday. Steve Simpson pretty much could have been ruled out on that occasion, and he will miss today's game. The other player in some doubt, Jared Mullen. He's actually been down in Wagga playing in the Australian Schoolboys competition. He will play at 5'8" outside Andrew Johns today, one of these exciting youngsters who is combining schoolboy football with the NRL. I think we'll see an entertaining clash this afternoon. Newcastle, devil-may-care attitude. They don't have anything to lose. They'll throw it around. The Cowboys, when the opposition do that as well, find it hard not to get caught up in that kind of game. Plenty of points to be scored here. It is our television game. You'll see Andrew Voss, myself and Paul Harrigan from 4 p.m. We'll take a break now and come back with more of the Footy Show in just a moment.
Here, the fans, but they're loving the footy. And tyres held there by Southern.
Need to watch
21 metres away.
Sorry, Andrew, the one-on-one strips. Make sure that if they're taking the football up, they've got great ball security. That's two. They don't mind slow play the balls. Bit of gamesmanship coming in now.
Now Craig Smith, he runs and held there by Lillyman. Slow to his feet. Just over 10 seconds remaining now. Quinn. He carries forward, takes 3 with him. He's been very good today, Anthony Quinn. Last tackle, Buderus with the ball for Andrew Johns. He kicks it over the sideline. It's out on the full. It's the sweetest out on the full he's ever kicked. The Knights have won their first match at home for the year. The Knights have got their second victory of 2005. And they've toppled the team running third on the ladder. And what's more, they've come back from 18 points to 4 down at half-time to win 22-18. There is spirit here in Newcastle.
And it is a standing ovation from the almost 12,000 crowd that have come out. It is a huge crowd in these conditions, and they'll be rapt that they made the effort to be here to watch this. It's a great victory, 18-4 down. The team running third. They've got the money.
Let's go down to our Chic Quattro man of the match, a man who made 43 tackles today, backing up from Origin. All yours, Chief.
Absolutely. The $1,000 Chic Quattro man of the match goes to Danny Buderus. Congratulations, mate. It has been a massive week for you, but how satisfying is this victory?
It's as good as it gets, mate. That's on Wednesday night was the pinnacle for me, but to come back here, you live pretty much with these boys, and it's been a very tough year, so it's my first win with them, and I'm ecstatic.
Your form has just been outstanding at all levels. How's your body holding up?
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. You just got to be smart about it and recover properly. And I'm enjoying my footy, so hopefully we'll finish off the next 8 weeks.
Mate, finally, what about this Newcastle crowd? It's freezing down here. They're cheering. How good is it?
Yeah, they're tremendous, mate. This is all we're playing for at the moment, and ourselves. But the people in Newcastle have been tremendous. They've been turning up week in, week out, 20,000s, 19,000s, and it's been unbelievable.
You're a true professional. Congratulations, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Channel 9. Thanks, Chief.
I'll say it again, 43 tackles from Danny Buderus, top of the count for either team this afternoon. What a performance.
Well, what a week for Danny Buderus. Andrew Johns also great delight on Wednesday night. Now at club level, they've come from behind 14 points in unbelievable conditions. It's not a game that you win. In fact, 36 out of the 40 points scored in this game were scored against the wind. And fortunately for the Newcastle team, they've been able to record just their second win. Not a good weekend for the teams that were on 22 points coming into this round. Manly beaten, Cronulla beaten, now North Queensland beaten. For the winners, Quinn got a try, Mullen got a double, Quigley scored, Bowman, Singh, Williams and Breton Bowen for the losers. Wonderful week of rugby league. Now time for Channel 9 News.
Ken Sutcliffe with Sport Next, and the Knights come from behind to win their first home game of the season.
It was a terrific victory.
And the Knights trailed 18-4 against the Cowboys, but their game hadn't even started. In a lopsided second 40, Newcastle scored 3 unanswered tries.
Ball is loose.
The Knights didn't hit the lead until the final 10. A scrappy 4-pointer went Mullen's way, and Newcastle had its first home ground victory for the year. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News. And what a ride for Newcastle's Jared Mullen. The 18-year-old, who's still at high school, scored 2 tries in yesterday's come-from-behind win against the Cowboys. Mullen says an already incredible year can't get much better.
Get 100 on my HSC. I could probably top it off for the year, but...
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Well, after defeating the Cowboys and then re-signing prop Josh Perry, Newcastle will close their best week of the year by securing their financial future as well. True or false? Dean Ritchie.
Well, I really hope it's true. Case Newcastle really hit a real horrible period, I suppose you could say, financially this year. It would be nice to see them get a bit of financial stability, and that way they can get back out in the open market and start handing up a few big names, which they haven't been able to sign now for a couple of years.